All righty. Let's kick things off. So, greetings, everyone. I'm Ashley Young, Program Specialist at Military Family Services. First off, thank you to all of you for joining us tonight for our Pride Vibe Terrarium workshop presented in collaboration with the Little Shop of Horticulture. I want to also extend a special thanks to Jana, our community service provider in Denver, Colorado, for making this unique program possible. She came up with this extraordinary idea to host this virtually. Um, as MFS, we do understand that the 2S LGBTQI plus resources and Pride celebrations may look a little different in some US states, and we're just so thrilled to be able to offer this program as a way to come together and celebrate the Pride season across our CAF communities in the United States. Additionally, don't forget to check out our Pride webpage at cfmws.ca/US Pride. There you'll find a wealth of local and national resources, allyship tools, and soon to be a directory of the OutCan Safe Space ambassadors. Without further delay, I am pleased to introduce Kristen from the Little Shop of Horticulture, who will guide us through creating our terrariums. And I'm just going to go ahead and pin her now.
Ready? Right. Hello, hello. All right. Well, thanks for the intro. I'm Kristen, and this is the Little Shop of Horticulture. Welcome to our virtual studios. So we are a botanic event and design business out of Santa Cruz, California. So I think we've had a handful of you folks that are here in the Bay Area. We are about hour and a half outside of San Francisco. So a little coast, we got a little ocean, little redwoods, all kinds of great stuff here. So we're broadcasting live from our virtual studio. So as I was chatting with the crew early on, thanks to COVID, we now have this beautiful studio. So we have been around for about 5 years. We've been working with companies big and small, kind of all around the globe at this point, offering all kinds of really beautiful sort of art, floral design, playing kind of anything sort of botanic and art inspired workshops. So the ethos of our business is we work with a really cool network of other makers and growers and artists and things like that in Santa Cruz. So it's been really fun in the past 5 years as our business has kind of grown and all that jazz. We've brought all these cool folks along with us. So we're so pumped to join you all today. This is fun. This is our first, I think, this is our first Canadian military crew. So all right, I feel great. Usually it's just like tech people staring at me. So this is fun. I love just to grab in some other folks in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you kind of the ins and outs of how to make one of these super beautiful terrariums. I've got a couple little samples here. As you can see here, we've used all these really fun pride colors. I'm also going to show you how to make one of these little classic terrariums. So a little bit different, but kind of a cool little look as well. So what we're going to do together is we're going to walk through all of the cool little things in the kits. So I'm going to show you everything that's in there. I'm going to show you how to pour some fun layers. So if you want to get these cool angles or you want to get these little waves in your terrariums, I'm going to show you how to do that. We do have some plant trivia. I don't know how competitive this crew is, maybe a little bit. So we'll throw some of that in there. We'll talk about plant care, all of that jazz. Yeah, easy breezy. So I can hear you and I can see you. So if you want to pop your cameras on, that's always fun. If you want to stay hidden behind the scenes, totally cool. If you have questions, you can shout them out to me, or Cooper's back there running all the computer stuff. I'm on crafts, he's on computers. So you can always type to him. He'll answer anything, or he'll shout it out to me. We'll answer it via the camera. So a little housekeeping. We have, I know a lot of you have opened these kits, but we sand and gravel and moss and all kinds of stuff, which is really fun. It also can get a little bit messy. Also, if you've got some kiddos hanging out, you may want to grab yourself like a baking tray or something at the house. I have a little tray here. If you've got a cookie sheet, a towel, if anybody's like a Wall Street Journal crossword puzzle holdout person there and you have newspaper, you can throw that out too. You just want to make sure that you've got kind of a nice clear space for yourself to work, something to kind of contain the mess. And then if you have that laptop right in front of you, maybe just scooch it a little further back. I think I have sand stuck in my space bar for like the past year. So it doesn't always work out so well. So go ahead and kind of scooch that back. Is there any questions on there yet? Good. Okay, cool. Perfect. Yeah, so just a little bit of that. the sand is, you know, you've got the sand, the gravel, the moss, it can just get a little bit messy. So we'd like to kind of make sure to keep it all contained. So let's go ahead and grab our kits and we're gonna kick this off. So the first thing you're gonna find in there is this really nice glass terrarium. So we choose these styles of terrariums because it's got a lot of airflow to it. It's got a nice big open space on top. So if you are ever doing this on your own and you're looking for a terrarium, it's always great, especially if you're using the live plants, to go ahead and make sure that you've got enough airspace and airflow for your to kind of grab some of that air and some of that moisture. You're going to find kind of a classic bag of this white sand in there. If you do want to do like our classic style terrarium, this is going to be a great base for that. You're going to find some gravel in there. So you are going to find a whole smattering. We called it the Roy G. Biv. When I was a kid, we learned the rainbows as Roy G. Biv. I know, throwbacks, right? So you're going to find all these great colors in there. We tried our best to match the BIPOC flag that's also included in there. So all of the colors that are included in the kit are also represented in the flag, which is super fun. You'll find a couple of these in there. So if you do want to use all the colors, represent all the things, you can do that. So you've got a whole smattering of pretty much every color under this. This is one of our fan favorite workshops. So, so you can go ahead and you kind of put those out. You can kind of arrange them however you want. I like to kind of materials, but I'm just going to kind of do that here. Little overview. You are also going to find a bag of moss in there. So this is reindeer moss. It's dried, it's preserved, and it's dyed. So mine has a little purple, a little green. Yours might have a couple different green colors in it. Totally people safe, plant safe, pet safe. It might dye your hands just a little bit, just a heads up when you are working with it. So there's a really a whole lot amount of moss in here. So it just kind of adds a fun little accent to it. But yeah, so this is all dried and preserved. If you're already stressing about keeping your plants alive, don't worry. This moss is like already good to go. So you get covered. The next thing you're going to find in there is a little gem bag. So this has like fun little accoutrements. It's got some gravel, little pieces of glass in there, mushroom. It also has a little funnel. So if any of you are down to make like perfect layers and cool swirls and things, that little funnel is going to be pretty handy. You'll find another little tube in there. That's just a little bit of some colored rock. We just like to kind of make sure everyone's got enough design pieces. Then you've got this great little spoon. So again, this is going to help when you're doing some layers, if you want to make some cool indentations or things like that. It's also really going to help you. It's going to help you kind of shuffle around any of those pieces of rock or things like that that you kind of want to arrange. Also is like a great little sugar spoon when you're all done with that. You then find a box with some plants in it. So you are going to have 3 plants in there. And I think we have some folks from Hawaii joining us. So your plants, you don't have to stress about keeping alive because they are realistic artificial plants. We can't send anything living outside of the US, the continental. So you've got some artificial plants in there. The rest of you have 3 really cool air plants. You are going to have this biggest one is going to be called your capitata. So that's kind of your tallest one. You'll have this little tiny baby, looks a little bit like the top of a pineapple. That's your Ayanatha. And then you're going to have one that looks kind of like a little octopus. It's got these like little tentacles. It's kind of green. That's called your bulbosa. So we'll talk about plants and all of that jazz towards the end of it. But just know that these guys are, they're perfect for these terrariums because the one thing you're going to note, there is no soil involved in these plants, right? So has anybody used air plants before? New, a little bit? Okay. No sweat. I see. Okay, perfect. We'll chat about care, but these are, we call these like our most likely to succeed plants, right? So we always send the ones that we're like, these are going to survive. We've had some of these just hanging out in the studio for like years, right? So we'll chat through all the care, no stress about it, all of that jazz. There's also a really great care card in there. So how to keep your plant alive, the #1 question everyone asks us. So we put the little like to-dos right in there. Plant arrival, light, watering, temperature. We'll do all this, but it's just nice to have this kind of handy. Just kind of keep it in the top drawer or something like that, just to know how to keep these alive. So Coop, give me an overview here. So here's the whole jam. Here's the kit. Let me just do a little shift over. There we go. We'll go this so you can see it all. Perfect. So here's the whole, everything you have. So if you want to go big and you want to like fill your terrarium up, here, give me a front view. If you want to fill this up to the tip top, you can do that. The plants don't need any of these materials to stay alive. So if you want to just fill this up and you want your plants hanging out over the top, that's totally fine. If you're a minimalist and you're like, all I want to do is put one rock and one plant in here, totally cool too. That is what is so fun about this class, is that everybody gets all the ingredients. And by the end, you've made just a completely different recipe than the person in the square to your left, right, up, down, right? So, and if you want to turn your cameras on, we can do a little show and share. But it is really fun just to see how creative and crazy people get. If there's kiddos on the call, unbelievable how fun and crafty these kids are. So those are fun ones to watch out. They usually like end up trumping their parents when it comes to it. So yeah, so you can use everything in here. All the colors, you can use just the basics. Really, whatever speaks to you is totally cool. And I think, again, that's what's really fun about this. So I'm going to just clear my space here. And I'm going to just grab a tube and I'm going to start pouring some layers. The biggest question people always want to know is like, how do you pour the layers? What do you do? So I'm going to walk everyone through just a little bit of those tips and tricks. If you feel like you've got a game plan, you want to just jump right in, that's totally cool. You can do that. If you do have some extra folks hanging with you, if you've got some kiddos or your partner is with you and you want to make multiple terrariums, there's plenty. We learned during COVID to just send extra because for the most part, people were like, can I get more sand or can my kid do one? So we figured we send plenty. If you want to do another one together, all you're going to want to do is grab yourself a mason jar. If you've got like an old candle, you can kind of just wipe the wax out. Anything that's got a nice open space. I've just got a vase here. You can see here, big open top. That's going to be the key thing. If you have like a candy dish or something, that's totally cool too. So if you want to, while I'm walking through this, grab some other little bits so everyone can make them. That's totally fine. So, okay. So let me clear my ear. I'm going to grab a couple tubes of sand just to show you how to pour some of these cool layers. What you can do is you can also just laying out your materials and you can kind of map out the colors and the little different bits and pieces that you may want to use in there while I'm kind of demonstrating. All right. So what I like to do is I like to start any of my terrariums with a little bit of this white sand at the bottom. So when you think about designing, if you were to start using the colors right away, what's going to happen is you're going to kind of lose them underneath the rounded part of that terrarium, right? So when you're thinking about the colors and how you want to layer it, I always like to start with a little bit of that white sand. And you can see that kind of sneaky right at the bottom. So you don't actually really see it when you're looking at that side view of the terrarium. So basically what it does is just sort of help elevates that design space. So you really sort of start with those cool colors right at the side. So that's always the first step of any of these terrarium designing is you get to kind of do those cool layers first. So when you're mapping everything out, step one is to think about how it's going to look from the side. And then step two is going to be how is it going to look from like the top view and maybe like a little bit further up, right? So just kind of keep those things in mind. So let's grab our tube. So everything I'm going to show you in this tube is going to be done in the terrarium in the globe. It's just a little easier to see in this tube. So I'm going to grab my white sand and I'm just going to pour a little bit in there, okay? Just like half an inch, whatever. Basically, all I want to do is, like I said, I want to elevate that design area, right? So instead of pouring those colors at the bottom, I'm going to pour them like a little bit up towards the middle. So if you look at, let me see what versions I have here. So if you look at this version here, I have some really cool kind of angles in there, right? So they're not super flat. They're not so wavy. So this is more of that cool kind of angles look. So if you're looking for something along those lines, what you're going to want to start to do is you're going to pour little wedges of sand all the way around your terrarium and you're going to layer them on. So like I said, the first thing to think about is that side view, right? So don't worry about how it's looking from the top when you're pouring in those layers. What you want to do is worry about how it's looking from the side. We'll top it off at the end. So I'm going to start by opening up a couple blue and a couple black sands, all right? So I like to kind of prep my materials, especially with tubes. Once I get in the groove of designing, I like to have everything kind of like handy, ready to go. So if you want to go like rainbow color, the red, orange, yellow, blue, green, indigo, violet, Roji Biv, you can do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this blue and I'm just going to pour little wedges of sand, all right? So Coop, if you want to give me an overview. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pour a little wedge of this blue, just like so. And I'm going to pour a little wedge of the black sand. And that one's going to go about halfway over, right? So I'm just going to do a little overlap, just like so. And I'm going to keep repeating that process all the way around the terrarium, okay? So I'll finish it off and then I'll show you what that side view looks like. So what you really want to do with this colored sand is you want to focus on those edges. Don't worry about what the middle looks like yet, because we want to maximize the use of all of our colors. So if we were to just pour them all in the middle, you'd never get to see all those cool colors, right? So you want to really maximize them along those edges. So that's the big deal. So focus on those edges. I'm just going to turn it slowly. And then when we give you the side view here, what you're going to see, and Coop, give me a side view. So that's how I've got kind of those cool angles, right? So they're really cool little like wedges of color. So that's kind of a very similar approach to, to this cat here. Just like so, you can see those bigger wedges. So the more sand you pour, the thicker those layers are going to be, right? So if you want to go like big wedge of that blue and you want it to be really tall, go ahead and pour more sand. If you want it to be thinner and kind of more subtle, you can pour a little bit less in there. Does that make sense? Cool. So you can see here, I'll just give it a little rotate. You can kind of see what those little wedges look like. It's going to look a little bit different in that bulb because you have a little bit more space. Let me just kind of clear this space here with a little bit of white. And I'll show you how to kind of pour some of these cool little waves, right? So we're near the beach here, so we love our ocean waves. So if you want to do kind of a wave effect, what you're going to do is something very similar. You're going to take your tube and you're going to pour that little mound of sand right along that edge, okay? So the bigger the sand or the higher that mound, the bigger that wave is going to be, okay? So I'm going to go through, I'm going to give it a rotate. And if you are doing the rotate, just be a little bit careful so you don't kind of shake it too much and all the layers kind of come tumbling down. So go ahead, pour a little bit more, give it a little rotate. And then this is going to give you those cool kind of ocean waves, right? What you're going to do then is you're going to top that off with whatever your next color is. I'm going to use the black sand. And you can see here how defined those layers really become, right? And you can use all the colors this way. If you like that look, that wave approach, it's always a fun one. If you like this version here, what I did with this one was I poured big mounds of colors, right? So instead of like alternating, yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow, green, I'm a Green Bay Packer fan, so yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow, green. I just kind of poured little wedges of those colors around, right? And it's kind of funny, but my niece, she's 4 and she loves making these and she makes the most amazing little terrariums because all she does is pour little like mountains of these colors of sand on top of each other. And they just turn out amazing, right? As adults, we try to like overthink the whole thing and the kids are just dump. And it turns out super cute. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you this pattern where it's more like larger chunks and there's less kind of a pattern or alternating pattern to it, that works out too. And you're going to want to use more sand than you think. I think that's the ticket. Everyone thinks that there's a lot of sand in that kit, which there is because we love to, we're just like the Oprahs of sand over here. But the little, like if you really want to get those cool chunks of color, you're going to use quite a bit of that, right? So the more you use, the bigger those layers are going to be on the side, okay? So once you get all those layers poured, then your next step is going to be topping it off and then adding in all of the fun little accoutrements on top. So I like to start with that sand. Once you get that all done, that top area might look a little bit crazy. You're going to cover that up with what I have left. Then you're going to go through and like add the plants and such. So if you've got that little spoon handy, what you can do with that is you can also use that spoon to make some cool little kind of like dips in things right in that in those layers. So if I were to go in here and I were to push that down, you can see how those little layers are merging with the little handle of that spoon. So if you have like a chopstick or you've got a barbecue skewer or something hanging out at the house, you can make some really cool little patterns in there. You can also take that, like the top of the spoon, and you can dig out a little bit. So say you want to dig a little kind of little cavern or something like that, you can go ahead and then you could fill that in with white, right? And you can see how cute that looks too. And really get crafty. I should say that too. This is a 45-minute class. If you want to spend 7 hours curating this terrarium, I fully encourage that to happen. This is supposed to be fun, and please take your time. and do kind of make it exactly how you want it. The other thing that is in that little kit, in that little gem bag, is this funnel, okay? So these are really fun if you want to make some really fine lines. We've taught a lot of engineers in our time, and it is always funny to watch like the precision layers of these getting poured. So what you would do with that is you would just kind of open up your tube of sand. There's like a little handle on the top of that funnel, and you would just fill it ever so slightly, kind of angle it in. So you kind of want the tip of that funnel to be pushing against the glass. And you kind of pop that in a little bit at a time and just work your way around. And a little bit of sand goes a long way in this when it comes to kind of curating those little vision lines, right? So if you really want to go crazy, feel free to do that. So let me just kind of do a little bit here. I'll show you what that looks like. So very thin, I use a very minimal amount of sand, but that funnel really helps kind of lightly distribute it. I don't even know if you can see that, but it's a little light layer of purple. So if you want to make this like a wafer cookie, go crazy. That's totally fine. How are we feeling? Are we understanding the layers? Feeling good about that? Okay, cool. Perfect. So then together, let's build a couple of these terrariums. I always like to kind of walk through it together. I also like to visit the more of our kind of classroom. So for those of you who's like, this level of color is crazy, we got you. We feel you. So we will also make a couple one of those classic ones. So we'll start with the classics. And I'm just going to leave a little bit of my sand up here right now. So once you decide the style you want to make, whether it's like all the colors, an assortment of colors, and again, there's no right or wrong way to make this. So if you want to use a smattering of colors and things like that, feel free to do that. The next idea is the top view, right? So how do you want this to look from like the top or kind of more of a little bit of that front view? So think about, I always tell people, think about where you might want to place your terrarium. So these are going to be maybe made for indoors. So are you going to put this on a table where it's going to be a centerpiece? You're going to want to see it kind of 360. Or are you going to tuck it away in a corner on like a little end table, something like that? So there's two different ways to design it. So one is kind of this 360 approach, right? So when I poured my layers and started the toppings process, I centered everything right in the middle. So this little babe is going to be so cute all the way around, right? You get that whole 360 view because I designed it right in the middle. Actually, Coop, you want to give me an overview? So you can see that it's designed kind of right in the middle, right? So there's kind of stuff all the way around. With this version, our classic terrarium, what I did with this one, as you can see, I built this in a tall to small approach. So I have my tall items in the back, and then I worked my way down to those lower little bits, right? So here, if you want to give me a front view. So you can kind of difference. So the tall to small means I really heaped up the moss and the rocks in the back, but you're probably not going to want to look at that. Like if you had that on your end table, people would be like, why do you just have a bowl of moss? They wouldn't be seeing all the little treasures in the front. So if you're going to kind of put it in a spot that you're going to hide the back corner, you can go tall to small. If you want that 360 view, you're going to want to design with that middle in mind. So just a couple little hints on that guy. All right. So what we're going to do quick is we're going to start pouring one of our classic terrariums. All right. So for those of you who is like, hey, color is not my jam right now, or the kids have used all the color, don't worry, still going to have a really great looking terrarium. Even with these ones, I like to start with a little bit of that white sand. Okay. Again, I'm just going to pour a little base layer here, just like so. And then for this version, I'm going to mound up a little bit of that white gravel in the back. Okay. So I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to kind of pour a little bit of that gravel. Now just pour it a little bit closer to the bottom of the dish and work your way up, just because it is rock on gravel, so it can, or rock on glass, so it can get a little bit sketchy, but it's pretty soft. So you can see here, white sand lower down in the front, and then I've got that nice tall kind of mound of that gravel right towards the back. So then this is where I always like to kind of grab that moss and pop some of that out and kind of add a little bit of that in. So we're to the redwoods. We've got these like crazy magic forest here, so full of all these fun mosses. So I really love to add some of this in. So this is gonna come out in a giant cloud, right? So you're probably gonna have a lot of moss in there, but again, we just like to make sure you have enough. So go ahead and just kind of pull some of that off. You can tear it off, and you can kind of rip it apart. So if you don't want a huge puff, if you want to use some smaller pieces, you can do that too. So I'm gonna go ahead pop a little bit of that purple in there. I'm just going to kind of push that to the side and I'm going to pull that out just like so. And if you have some of this left over, it looks really cute in like succulent gardens. You can also use this to like decorate up in when it's fall. So there's all kinds of fun uses for this. So I'm going to go ahead, pull out another little cloud here. And I'm just going to kind of tuck that in there just so, okay? And then I've got a little bit of the moss down here on that white sand. So what I'm going to do is just kind of pour a little bit to kind of cover that up, right? So I don't like all those little little bits and pieces kind of hanging out. So let me hold this up for you. And you can see that even with just that white sand, that really kind of classic gravel.
Go in here, so.
What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, thought there was a question. Okay. You can see with those two mosses, so pretty, right? So don't feel like you really do have to use all of the colors involved. You can just go with that classic look. I was just San Francisco, all the plant shops here. These terrariums are huge. Everybody's got these, and that classic look is really, really popular. So just know, don't fear if you feel like you like it a little less bright color. So I'm going to set this version to the side. I'm gonna then put one of our fun kind of rainbow colored ones. All right. So with that one, like I said, what I really love to do is I like to open up all of my little tubes of sand. I like to kind of prep everything and just kind of map it all out. So I'm going to grab my colors and I'm just going to kind of open these cats up, right? So we were packing the kind of the rainbow. So I'm going to try to pour it the same way that we packed it. So we had the red and we have the orange, yellow, okay, just like so. There we go. Orange, yellow. And then we've got the blue here, green, and then we have the indigo, and then we threw some pink in there. We got some brown and we've got some black, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour these little wedges of sand, right? So I love the kind of eclectic look of all those different kind of color blocks, right? So what I'm going to do is grab my next little terrarium here. I'm going to start with just a little bit of that white sand at the bottom. Like I said, I just want to elevate those layers. So about maybe ½ an inch. There we go. And I'm just going to work my way around pouring these little wedges of sand. All right. So we'll start with red and I'm just going to dump it right in there. There we go. And I'm going to go orange and I'm going to overlap a little bit. And I'm just going to kind of keep working my way around. Now you can use all the sand if you want to really fill this up to the tip top, which is fine for the plants. If you want to go a little bit less, kind of low key, just use about half that, okay? So we got the yellow, little wedge of that yellow. And you can give it a little shake if you want to flatten it out. That spoon's also really handy too. So if you want to kind of, I like to sort of look from the side at how it's doing. And if you feel like you want to flatten it out, go ahead and just use your spoon to do that. Super full. Little yellow. I'm going with my dark blue here. And if you do want to add a topping color, remember to save a little bit of that color, okay? So I've got blue, green here, and I've got a little version of blue. And you can see this as I'm spinning it around. It's just coming out so cute. And all you're really doing is just pouring little wedges of sand, right? Hit it with some purple. Cute, cute, cute. And then pink. There we go. You can see this is really popular with kids too. People just like kiddos just love all those fun colors. A little of that. We'll go with a little bit of the brown, just like so. And then I'll just finish it off with a little bit of that black. You can see on this one, I still have plenty of room to the top of mine to do the rest of my design, right? So Cooper, if you give me an overview, this is what I'm going to show you how it looks a little crazy, right? So if you love that, it's really cute. If you want to leave it like that, you can. If you want to then take any white sand or you want to finish this off with just the white gravel, you can do that too. So that's kind of the next step. So I always tell people to kind of take a look from the side, see how your colors feel to you if you want to add anything else. If you don't, then go ahead and kind of top that off, all right? So I'm probably going to go ahead and grab a little bit of my white sand and I'm going to just top that off, right? So I want to give myself sort of a clean slate to add in all those fun little rocks and pops and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to add a little bit of the white sand, just like so. Again, this is where that spoon can come in handy. You can really just use that to spread it out. Once you add this top layer on, your layers that are down in the middle are going to be a little bit more secure. So that'll be easier. I don't want you to run like a marathon with this terrarium, but if you, once you kind of start adding these heavier layers on top, everything's going to kind of settle in and lock itself in place. So you can see here, I've got that perfectly clean, kind of white, fun top space that I can now decorate with the rest. And then from the side, Coop, give me a side view, please. You can see how cool that looks, right? So pretty. And I love these, they're so cool. So then once we get the sides done and you feel really great about it, this is where you get to kind of add in all of those plants, add in that fun value to it. So we'll start over here with our kind of our prod style one. What I like to do with this one is design that kind of full 360 view because I've got all those cool layers in. I like to make sure that you can see that top plant section from all the way around. So I'm going to pour a little bit of my white gravel here, just like so. And then I'll probably grab a little bit of that cool crushed blue and I'll just pop a little bit of that in there too. Okay, give it a little spin. I think that's really cute to just add a little bit of that in there as well. There we go, maybe a little bit over there. Then you can add in pretty much anything else you want. So you can open up that gem bag. You can pop in that sea glass. We're here on the West Coast and actually our beaches just have loads of cool sea glass. This is pre-manufactured. My sea glass is treasured in jars on my shelves, but you can always add in else that you find as well. So say you're a hiker. I know lots of you are in Colorado, so probably like really cool pieces of like some really cool rocks and things like that. So go ahead and feel like empowered to add whatever you want in there. We have had Legos, we've had Nickelodeon figurines, we've had anything you can imagine. Fairies are very popular. So if you have some fairies hanging around the house, you can pop those in. All we ask is if you do grab something from nature, just give it a little wash. All the plants that we're adding in do come from like a certified organic shop that we work with, a grower in Southern California. So we don't want to introduce anything from outside into our terrarium. So just go ahead, give it a little wash. You can always hit it with just like a little bit of alcohol or some peroxide or something just to kind of clean up bacteria. But if you're a beachcomber, a hiker, and you've got some cool little treasures, kiddos, it's always fun too to do that. So I'm going to pop in a little bit of that sea glass. I think it looks super pretty. I'm going to go ahead and grab a couple of these plants. So when it comes to placement of these plants, the neat thing about these plants is they can pretty much live however you would like them to live. So if you want to lay them down on their side, you can do that. If you want to kind of nestle them on into the sand, as long as you don't bury them too far up. If you want to bury, gosh, maybe half an inch or so of that little base, that's totally fine. So the leaves of plants are going to be where they collect all of their air and all of their moisture. So unlike succulents and other, like tomato plants and things like that, they have a root system that they need to kind of keep alive. So that's why they love these terrariums. They're really fun. And they can kind of just go wherever. So I'm going to take my capitata and I'm just going to kind of nestle it straight down in there. And again, if you have a little bit of those ends hanging out, that's totally fine. I'll grab that little Ayanatha and I'm just going to kind of park it right next to it. And then I'll probably grab one of my flags and I'll just pop it in there. And it's so fun. These look so cute. We'll go ahead and just pop that in and I'll show you what that looks like. There we go. Let me hold it up. So here you go. I'll give you a little 360. It's like the cutest little thing you've ever made, right? No, who would have thought? And just a little 360. So you can see what I love about these is it's got that nice little middle section, right? So that's really where we've designed everything. I like to do little clusters right in the middle. I think it looks really cute. So if you want to go back to our classic style over here, this one is equally as fun. So like I said, we're here by the redwoods. So adding in these little mushrooms into this little ensemble is always just the funnest. So I'm going to go ahead, going to just pop that in. If the mushroom's too long for where you want to pop it in, just bend the bottom a little bit. It's like a little bit of a garden stake. So go ahead and pop that in. You can add in one of those little rocks there, easy breezy. And again, you can kind of go tall to small with this one. So if you want your capitata kind of tall in the back, go ahead and kind of nestle that in. And then I'm going to grab my other little baby. And you guys have 3. I shipped out my last one, so I don't have the third here. But I've got that little Ayanatha. I'm going to kind of tuck that right down there at the side. So let me hold up both here. Oh, wait, let's add our other little flag in there since we've got two. Grab that out and pop that right in the back. So cute. All right. There you go. Pop it right on in there. Okay. So we got version 1 and version 2. So same exact kit, just 2 totally different styles, right? So fun, but equally as cool. I really love these. I think both of them are really, really fun. It just kind of depends on, you know, your style of your house and or your office and where you want to put it. So cute. Right. Questions so far? Feeling good? All
I
right.
do have a question.
Yeah, yeah.
There is a family that was not able to join us tonight. They will be moving, and they
Okay.
were wondering how long will the plant survive in that box?
So they'll want to take it out of the box for sure. So the plants come in its own little box. So I would say if you can take the plants out, give them a soak, and if you can let the plants hang outside of the box, they'll be fine. The rest of the stuff is totally cool to travel with them.
Okay,
And
perfect. Thank
you can always just pass them my info too. If they get to wherever they're going and they just need a couple extra plants, just let me know and I'll just pop some in.
That's lovely. Thank you.
We do have like a secret free refill plant policy. Like if you confess to killing a plant, I will absolutely send you new. We get people very competitive about keeping them alive. So yeah, if you have a question on that, that's totally fine. Do you want to do some plant trivia and then we add about plant care?
Yes,
People want to do that?
I do.
Okay, then perfect. We got it. Okay, so this one's really fun. Let me just pop these back on here. So I always like to give folks extra time to design, which is in the trivia is really fun. So I know some folks, like I said, don't feel rushed, but if you do want to take a little extra time, go ahead and do that. So plant trivia, you can shout it out or type it out. I don't know, whatever works for you is totally cool. So we've got a couple of little questions here. All right, let's start with this cat. Okay, which garden plant / flower in the 17th century was exchanged as a form of currency? Which garden plant flower in the 17th century was exchanged as a form of currency? Is anybody writing in? It's funny because kids know a lot of these. There must be some like hot trivia going on in elementary school these days. Oh, Coop, what do we got? Not an orchid. Tulips. We got tulips. Yep, tulips in the Netherlands. All right, we're off to a good start. Perfect. Okay, what is the art of cutting shrubs into ornamental shapes called? The art of cutting shrubs into ornamental shapes. Think of those hedges at Disneyland that are like into Mickey's. Anybody? We get a lot of bonsai. It's not bonsai. We have any guesses there, Coop? All right. I'm going to give it to you. Topiary. I know, right? I know. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. All right. Topiary. This one has 2 answers. This is a good one. Which flower looks like one large flower, but is actually composed of hundreds of tiny flower florets? So one big flower, but it's composed of a bunch of little flowers. Florets. I know someone knows it out there. We've been seeing them blooming a lot right now.
Oh.
Both of them. Oh, I see a guess down there. What do we got? No guesses?
I would.
Oh, not lilac. It's very close to the lilac. You're on the right track. No Googling. We work with Google a lot, and I tell people no using your search engine. It is the sunflower and the hydrangea. I know. The sunflower is just like, you would never guess it because it looks so big, but sunflower and the hydrangea. Okay. Which plant has flowers but no proper leaves? So which plant has flowers but no proper leaves? Oh, let's see. What do we got? The cactus. All right, we got it. Going strong. We're going strong. We got a resurgence over here. Okay. What is the tallest living plant? If any of you are on the West Coast, you should be familiar with this.
The great redwoods, right?
There you go. You got it. I love it. Okay. Ooh, there's a couple good ones. Okay. What holiday decoration might you find growing in an apple tree? Well, it's not an apple. It's actually a parasite that attaches itself to the apple trees. You would not know that though. It's what you hang in your doorway.
Mistletoe?
Mistletoe. I know we have some orchards here up in Northern California when you kind of go past San Francisco. And it's crazy to see these like huge balls of mistletoe just hanging in these trees. Kind of wild. All right, we got two left. What's the tallest and thickest kind of grass? The hard one. Because you wouldn't think it's a grass. All right, I'll give you it. Bamboo. I know. No one knows. No one knows. Okay, this one, I imagine someone in this group will know this. What berries are used in the making of gin?
Juniper.
See? There's always a secret partier in the bunch. That's the giveaway right there. Amazing. Okay, I love it. That's always so fun. Thank you for participating.
I'm surprised you didn't have like an Audrey 2 question in there.
Oh, yeah. See, I love that you, I know people, I always went early on. It was funny when we made the joke about this business name. I was like, are we aging ourselves here? Like, do people know? But now in New York, back on like off Broadway, and they've got like a really great cast. So I have not actually seen it in person. So my goal is to get out there. So thank you for recognizing the Little Shop of Horrors reference.
I was very excited when I saw your name come up, just like Little Shop of Horticulture. I'm like, somebody knows.
I know somebody recently was like, you need to like send them an email and like meet the cast. Like people would probably want to know that your business exists. I was like, oh, maybe. I'm like, that's a good idea. I'm like, I have to do that. So, all right. I love it. Thank you for recognizing that. Let's chat plant care quick. I know we're closing in on our time here. So plant care. For you in Hawaii, you're golden. These things are going to live forever. You're set for lifers. For the rest of you, what you're going to want to do is take your plants out of this terrarium and you're going to want to soak it once a month for 30 minutes. So I know that a lot of folks who have air plants will get those little misters and they'll kind of go that route. So when it comes to our terrariums, we always like to suggest we actually take the plants out and soak them. One, it kind of gets the terrarium a little bit spotty and messy. And the other thing is that it doesn't allow the plants to sort of dry out, right? So that's kind of one of the big things I think when people have an issue with air plants is that they kind of get wet and then they never dry out, right? So what you want to do is you're going to just take them out of your terrarium. You're going to find yourself a mason jar, a glass, whatever you have at the house, fill it up with either tap water or some distilled water, or not distilled water, but whatever water you have. You're going to take them and you're going to just fully submerge these plants. All right. So fully submerge them for a half hour. You're going to want them out and you're just going to want to let them air dry. What you want to make sure is that all those little nooks and crannies are dry. You don't want any water kind of hanging out in there because what it's going to happen is it's going to sort of end up kind of rotting the leaves of that plant, right? So you want it to air dry out and then go ahead and just pop it back in your terrarium and that's easy breezy. When it comes to placement, we like to say these are indoor plants, especially because we have just shipped these plants to you all over the US. So if you are like in New York, it's 1,000,000 degrees and then tomorrow it's going to be 42. It's going to be too crazy for these plants to live outside. So inside plants are great. You're going to want to make sure and give them some filled light just throughout the day. So we don't want them to sort of bake in a hot window. We don't want them to kind of sit in like a cold, dark room. So if you have a spot in your house, in your office, wherever, that gets some nice daylight throughout the day, plants are going to be super happy. They kind of create their own little ecosphere living in here. So they are like really, really happy in here. They get enough airflow so that they can scoop any moisture that they need throughout the day, but otherwise it kind of keeps them like nice and cozy and happy in there. So, and air plants are like the slowest growing thing on earth. So this will not, I know I don't want you to think this thing is going to grow like this big. If you have seen those in the plant shops, that takes a long time, which is why they're like $300 for those plants, right? So these are going to stay this size for quite a while, right? So if you want to try to kind of speed up the grow process, you can order some like air plant food to water, but you don't really need to. So we've had them hanging at the shop for years. They're great. They're growing little bit by little bit. Every once in a great while, you will get one about this time of year that might flower. So the little Ionata will have a tiny purple flower. These ones are probably too small to have that happen within this year, but maybe in the next 2 years, you might see that flower. So they don't often do it, usually about once in their lifetime. But we have a couple in the shop that actually just flowered. So it was like a big deal for us over there. Everybody was selling. So other than that, you've got your how to keep your plant alive card. So that will give you any other answer any questions. Our info is on the bottom. So if you have a question and you want to, you need some help, like I said, something happens to your plants. Also, if there's cat people, for some reason, cats love air plants. We don't know why, but if your plant goes missing, probably check with your cat. It's hidden somewhere. It's just been a phenomenon after 5 years we have discovered. So yeah, question. These things, I have seen them grow to be like the size of footballs, right? So they will get really large. I have a couple, I don't think I have any in the studio, but they are, they look a little more round. They have these like longer tentacles to them. They're very popular. Those will grow a lot faster. We have some that started out like so big and then they ended up kind of being a little bit like kind of the size of maybe a softball, but they can grow really large. So yeah. But you've got to have a lot of patience or a lot of bucks to buy the ones at the fancy plant shop that are already that big. But good question. Any other questions? All right. Well, then I will, do you guys want to do a screenshot? Does anyone want to turn their cameras on and do a little screenshot? Otherwise, you can all catch it on your end if you want to. All right. A lot of blank screens here. Oh, we got a couple. Oh, that's so cute. Oh, that looks great. All right, here. Well, I'll hold up mine and we'll grab a little screenshot for you. You ready, Coop?
I'm
all right.
trying to unpin you. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't do it.
I've got it unpinned on my end.
It's done.
Ew. There we go.
I couldn't decide on the natural or so I did a little bit of.
I know it's so hard. There we go. Oh, yeah. All right. Perfect.
Amazing.
Oh, they look so good.
I love
that
them.
one looks really good. Also matches your purple shirt. Yes. It's so fun always to see what everyone comes up with. So hopefully maybe you guys can grab some photos on your end from your crew. It's always really fun to see what he makes. So, and I said, if you have extras, feel free to make some other terrariums. They're great hostess gifts. Really fun for summer. Again, if you've got extras, kiddos love it. So just be prepared. Be a sand. My niece calls it a sand explosion every time she comes over. She's like, I'm so good at the shop. I was like, yeah, big time. So keep a vacuum handy. All right. Were there any other questions, Coop? We good? Okay. Well, if you need anything, email, Instagram, if you're here on the West Coast and you just want to take a little beachy vacay to Santa Cruz, come and hang with us. We are doing workshops in the studio all day long. So, all right. Well, thank you all so much. It was nice to meet you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one. Thanks.